I always like to talk to mission-driven messengers, and how I define that is, people who a lot of times mission-driven is kind of a big buzzword, right? Because those types of businesses want to make a difference in the world, and I believe that's so powerful. So coaches are one area where I believe podcasting benefits a lot. And then the nonprofit world is another area that I'm passionate about working with. Coaches and nonprofits are also the segment that I focus on because of how high trust those transactions are when you make them. You need to really trust your coach. You don't necessarily need to trust the McDonald's drive-through as much. You don't necessarily need to trust the plumber, somewhere in between there, right? So every transaction has a level of trust.
You're listening to Brainwork Framework, a business and marketing podcast, brought to you by Focus-Biz.com.
Welcome back to another episode. With us today is the founder, the audio producer, and voice talent at Jon Goehring Voiceovers, Jon Goehring. So excited to have you on. How you doing today?
Chris, I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm excited to talk with you today.
Absolutely. Same here. It's our pleasure. We always like to ask our entrepreneurs, tell us about your journey. What were you doing before that kind of led you into what you're doing today?
Well, I fell in love with radio on my first day on my local college campus here. The college campus has a nice large radio station, and I fell in love immediately with radio. And the idea of talking into the mic and being able to hear yourself in the headphones and all those cool things that us radio people love. And so that's what really launched my career into radio. I got an internship out of college and was able to work in the radio world full time for a little bit. But then I realized that the traditional radio industry, how many of us really listen to FM radio anymore, right? I don't know about you, Chris. Are you a big FM radio guy?
I used to all the time, but I don't know. It's not so much anymore. Things are different.
I've asked a ton of people that, dozens of people that, and I would say that the most common answer is, yeah, I used to, but now I listen to podcasts, or now I just listen to music in the car. And so I think that's something that we've all seen, and the evolution of AI and the changes that have made radio has made to it. And so thousands of radio professionals have been laid off. I wasn't one of those professionals. I was lucky enough to, I guess, get a jump start ahead of that and realize, maybe this isn't the best industry for me for the long term. So I got out of radio and now get to do my own work, which started off as just voiceover and audiobook narration and those things. But now I've expanded to working with brands, building trust for them through the power of podcasting. So content creation is something I really believe in, and it started in the radio days, but now I'm realizing that it's expanding a lot further.
That is incredible. And I hear from all these entrepreneurs, it's all about this pivot. There's a new opportunity, or they see something and they realize, okay, maybe this is the direction that I want to go. So going from radio into just a different medium of how you deliver this type of content to people, using your natural skills and abilities and expertise to find these opportunities. And now you're building content for other people. It's incredible.
Thank you. And it is very sad to see some radio professionals who I still know who are great people, but they stuck in that mode of communication because they believe that that's the only way, because that's what they know. But content evolves just like anything, right? And here we are, as we're recording this, we have a lot of changes that are coming, I know, from this point forward. And within 20 years, maybe the whole content world looks different. So just like in any business as an entrepreneur, working in the world of content is the same way. We need to be flexible and be able to adapt.
Absolutely. And when you say 20 years, I'm almost thinking 20 days or 20 months. The changes within AI and marketing has just been incredible to see. It's advancing so fast. How do you like to stay on top of that? Are you seeing any changes to this opportunity or threats to your business, or do you see it as an opportunity?
I try to see it as an opportunity, but like anything, it can be both, right? Mm-hmm. And all depends on your mindset. How do I stay on top of it? The cheesy answer, but it's somewhat true, is the Brainwork Framework podcast, right?
Hey, thanks so much.
That's like, and in all seriousness, all of the great content out there, like what you're doing here, so many other entrepreneurs are doing too, listening to podcasts and reading books. And I love podcasts, especially because usually books, by the time you read them, it's been a couple years since the author has written them. But just staying on top with all of the content available out there, there's so much available to us for free that we can take advantage of about some of these newer trends. I like to see it as an opportunity because, for example, some of the AI tools I use for my business to help streamline the content creation process. Now, people always say, well, AI can't replace the human touch, and I totally agree with that, but I believe it can help us complement it by streamlining some processes that you might have had to have done manually. So some of the editing that we do is AI based, but the content that we're editing, we're creating ourselves, right? So that's just one example of it. Obviously, it can be a tool. And on the other side of things, it can be a threat too. And that's why we have to watch out for it. And like the voice acting world is under attack by AI for sure. And that's why there are times when we need to embrace AI and use it in our work. And there are other times when maybe we need to pivot away from an industry like just bland, raw narration because it's being replaced by AI. So it's a combination of things.
Absolutely, John. I totally agree. And that's why it's mindful for us to, stay on top of those trends, but also deliver that human touch within our marketing for the things that they can't replace. So I was curious more about how do you kind of, tackle and approach to content creation when you're helping other businesses or people and they come to you and say, hey, I'm kind of interested in this content strategy. What is it? How does it work? What is the process like? How do you like to, kind of go into that?
This is why I believe in the power of podcasting so much, because podcasting, what I like to call, it's a trust building tool and a content creation engine. And this is why I founded this brand, Story Trust Media, because I really feel passionate that trust is like the currency of business. As a small business, I work with some nonprofits too. I like to call us all mission-driven messengers, right? Because we all have a mission, whether it's, to profit ourselves, but also to make a difference in the world in whatever area we're passionate about. But the world of podcasting is so great because it builds trust through authentic conversations. And there has been a lot of research done that shows that you and I having this conversation, this face-to-face, even though virtual conversation, builds trust between the two of us dozens of times faster than if we were to exchange text messages. And what are we doing with a lot of our content online? We're writing it out. We're typing it. We're sharing stock photo and typing out some sentences that maybe AI even helped us write. So how fast is that building trust? I'm not saying a blog can't get you there, but podcasting is so powerful, number one, because of the face-to-face video audio component of it, face-to-face, voice-to-ear, and then number two, because of how efficient it can be. If you look on the Brainwork Framework podcast YouTube channel, you can see a lot of great short video clips from the episodes, which doesn't mean don't check out the full episode. You got to check out the full episodes, right? Because there's gold in there. But at the same time, the ability for you to create some content out of just a podcast episode, it doesn't have to just be a podcast episode. It can be a blog. It can be those clips. It can be a carousel on social media. There's so much that podcasting can do from an efficiency standpoint. So it builds trust. And I like to say you get better gas mileage with podcasts, right? You get to take them further. So that's why I'm so passionate about the world of podcasting.
Absolutely. I absolutely love it, both being a guest and a host. You get to meet a lot of great people, get to have these conversations. Like you said, it's the authentic trust building sort of exercise. But the repurposing of content, man, that is crazy. A 30-minute conversation can become 3 months worth of content in a sense, where you're crafting things in a different way. You're adding B-roll now. Maybe you're transcribing it, turning it into a blog post. I mean, there's so many great tools out there, like you said, for the efficiency and scaling piece of podcasts. I feel like it's just a winning combination. When you focus on podcasting as this, content medium, do you try to encourage them to be a guest on certain podcasts? Do you like for them to host a podcast? Because those are like two very different worlds, being the host versus the guest. Some people do both. Have you seen one be more effective than the other or a better fit for certain people?
I think it is all about that fit, right? Because I think starting your own podcast is great because you're automatically able to provide somebody else value. And the business world, as are the entrepreneurs who love this show, right? It's all about value. What added extra value can you bring to your ideal client profile? So a great tactic when it comes to podcasting is start a podcast. And the first thing you do is invite your ideal clients onto that podcast. Not as just a way of trying to, hey, I'll scratch your back, you scratch mine by becoming a client. I mean, certainly you're adding that value and you're hoping to get that in return. But no, there's even more value in that. For them, certainly there's the opportunity to borrow your audience for a bit. You're providing value to them by them having the chance to borrow your audience for a few minutes, 30 minutes, whatever. And then there's also that opportunity for you to learn deeper, more information about your ideal client profile. So now you can say, okay, what really are their pain points? Because so many entrepreneurs who are creating content have no idea what the pain points actually are. And they realize, okay, it's important to touch on their pain points, but maybe they have some misconceptions about those pain points. So this is why podcasting is not just a content creation tool, but it's an education for you along the way, and you build great relationships. So my first recommendation is, yes, start a podcast. But if you can get on podcasts at the same time, if you can do it with a podcast swap with someone, you have somebody on who also has a podcast, there's so many opportunities there. And I would never turn down an opportunity to be on a podcast. But just going out and pitching yourself as a podcast guest, you have to realize that it's like saying, hey, I don't know what I'll give back, but give me value.
Right.
So I think you start by starting a podcast if you can, and then you work in those opportunities to guest as well.
Absolutely. A common thread I hear from entrepreneurs is the giving of value and trying to give value instead of what's in it for me. You focus on what can I give to them. And this is creating better conversations, better relationships. Like you said, you can get a deeper dive into the ideal client profile. What are their pain points? What are they going through? And it's such a great tool. It's a medium. I'm starting to invest more. You see podcasters with these fancy, cool mics. They start getting better video. You see it in their content too. Is there a balance you try to find versus like, your budget friendly, got to be scrappy, I'm on a shoestring budget setup versus I have to go all in. People are buying, $5,000 cameras. How do we find that balance and create good content for people?
Great question. And I love to approach it. And with people who come to me to help them start podcasts, I approach it as a list of priorities, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the top priorities before you even start are very simple in my framework. And they're extremely simple that I'm pretty confident that we all have them. Number one is a computer. Number two is a quiet recording space, right? So more important than anything, and this also comes from my audio production and engineering background, more important than how expensive the microphone is or what interface you have or if you have sound padding on the wall is, are you in a quiet recording space with a lower noise floor is what we call the technical term. So before you invest in all these other things, make sure you have a quiet space, because a really expensive mic in a loud or a very large room with a 3-foot tall, old floor kind of room is going to make a lot of noise and cause some issues for you. So that's why I say that's number one. But as you go, there's nothing stopping you from starting a podcast without having everything that you eventually want. And like you said, Chris, you're starting to invest in these things, but the key is you already started the podcast. You're not sitting around waiting. This is something that entrepreneurs do all the time, right? It's like, well, I'll do this once I have this, and this in line, and then it never happens, right?
No.
You start.
Or they spend all this money getting into it, and they're like, I don't even know if I like this anymore. Well, you should probably start there, maybe.
Yeah, just start. Starting is like the hardest part of a podcast, and then from there you learn, you adapt. Your first episode probably sucks. It's okay. We'll move on from there, and then you can start adding things like a higher quality camera.
Yes, I can't tell you the first website I made, I was proud of it, but looking back, it was absolute trash. Looking back at the first design, anything that I did, eventually I wasn't as proud as I was, but just the transformation and evolution, when you start to have experience and perfect your craft, you start to learn more, that starts to show in all of the content that you're producing. And this is promotional content for you as a person or a brand. If you're a corporation or a business, you're trying to put yourself out there. Is there a way you like to focus on like promotional content or even the topics, like the structure? Do you kind of give everyone one topic to go on every podcast, or do you do something a little bit different based on their audience?
Well, I've read one of the most transformational books I ever read was a book by Simon Sinek, who is writing to a variety of people, but from a content creation standpoint, I still think it's powerful. And he says, start with why, right? Start with why. So that's what I always do in my podcast ideation call with prospective clients. Why do you want to have this podcast? Now, why informs who is your audience? Who are you doing this for? And I'm sorry, but that can't be everybody. Everybody wants to say, oh, my target audience, it's like everyone. We would all benefit from this. Now, why informs who, which is a detailed ICP, ideal client profile, or a specific segment of the audience of demographics and psychographics. So why informs who informs what you do. So using that progression, you get to, all right, what now? And some podcasts, it totally depends. I believe some podcasts are best to be very niched, very focused on one particular topic. I work with one client who's a sales and business development coach, and the entire topic of his podcast is the simple fact that making quality connections is better than making quantity connections. That's the whole point, right?
I love it. Like, it's so specific, but can expand into so many different subtopics.
Yeah. So the podcast is all about case studies that confirm that, some of the quality that you can bring without just spraying, quantity messages, 10,000 form letter emails saying the same thing. It's powerful, and it's a popular podcast because it's so niched, but so relatable. Everybody's gotten those messages before. So that's the key, is knowing your why leads to knowing your who. Knowing your who leads to knowing whether or not you're going to stay on that one topic or have a different topic weekly. Most of all, I would say usually the smaller the niche, the better. You don't want to be talking about football one day and then moving on to something business related the next day. Show some personality, but keep things pretty focused on what your audience wants.
That's important too. I find there's, big variances in the spectrum there. People who are very reserved or shy, and they're just not as comfortable being on camera or having conversations like this. And then you have people who take it to level 10. You first meet you in your personal space. They're right up with you. They're just, high energy. So finding that balance, I think, is important, but I'm sure you've worked with all ends of that spectrum as well.
Oh, yes. Oh, absolutely. I've worked with people who don't want to be on video, and they're saying, can we just do an audio podcast? I was like, well, we can. I mean, my mind's going, okay, remember back to high school when you were told the customer's always right. The customer's always right. Okay, if that's what you want, that's what you get. But I'm also like, man, you do need to put yourself out there a little bit. And that's what content creation is. But that also doesn't mean that you need to be so vulnerable that I have to tell you about something that's near and dear to my heart, or I have to share my deepest values with you on our first call, or even at all. So yeah, you're right. It is definitely a balance.
Absolutely. And are there certain ideal clients that you'd like to work with? Is it either like business types, a certain revenue stream, or a certain part in their, business journey?
Well, I always like to talk to mission-driven messengers, and how I define that is, people who a lot of times mission-driven is kind of a big buzzword, right? Because those types of businesses want to make a difference in the world, and I believe that's so powerful. And so coaches are one area where I believe podcasting benefits a lot. And then the nonprofit world is another area that I'm passionate about working with. Coaches and nonprofits are also the segment that I focus on because of how high trust those transactions are when you make them. You need to really trust your coach. You don't necessarily need to trust the McDonald's drive-through as much. You don't necessarily need to trust the plumber, somewhere in between there, right? So every transaction has a level of trust. Coaches are huge because you're entrusting them to a lot, including information and some of the steps you're going to take. And usually it's a fairly high investment too. And nonprofits, for people contributing their time or their money, some of their most important assets, that's really important too, to have that trust built. So I believe podcasting is super important for those businesses who are higher ticket, absolutely need trust built with their audience. Some of those lower ticket Etsy stores or, fast food restaurant type things, maybe the mass marketing is the better move. So it all does depend on your business type.
Absolutely. And Jon, where can people find you and connect with you online?
Storytrust.media is where the hub is. Everything from those social media profiles to getting a free consultation or checking out the private podcast that I've done, and the free ebook up there as well. So a lot of opportunities there that you can check out, hopefully get some value from the content. And you can also connect with me, like I said, a free consultation where we can run through your content and do a content audit right there, totally for free, no questions asked or anything. Just hoping to help you and see if maybe we are the right fit to work together on podcast production or some other service.
Nice. That is wonderful. We'll have those links available down in the show notes and the description. I want to ask, did you already mention the name of your podcast? Feel free to plug it if you haven't already.
Absolutely. So I've teamed up with two other great individuals to host the Limitless Leadership Lounge, where we talk with some of the greatest leaders in the world, from CEOs to solopreneurs to past athletes and those types of things. So just diving into the world of leadership and helping to understand that really helps me because it's an education for me, right? That's the biggest thing about the podcast is learning more about leadership, the world of coaching especially, and understanding who my clients are a little bit better. But then it's also good just to give back to those people who have messages, right? Mission-driven messengers, and give them at least, even if it's a relatively small platform, a platform to speak about some of the good that they're doing in the world.
Absolutely. And I love that you called it a lounge. It sounds very sophisticated and businessy, like, hey, we're just chilling, we're relaxing, talking business,
And that's the idea of podcasting too, right? It's supposed to just be those fun, laid back conversations. You don't need to get your broadcaster voice on and have the tuxedo, right? You're just like you and I are doing today.
No, I love it. Now, 2026, what are you planning for? What are you excited about? Is this new products or services you're offering, trying new initiatives, or are you just kind of keeping the course for everything that's been working for you?
Well, I'm really excited about the repurposing power of podcasts and expanding some of the services that I offer under the same umbrellas because of some of these tools that we're using that are able to make the work a little bit faster and more efficient. So now working with my clients who I was able to manually cut out 3 little short video clips that they can put across their social medias and all of those things. Now we do a couple of dozen, and we do a variety of different things, including blog posts, email newsletters, those types of things. So just adding value to what we're already doing for our existing clients is what I'm most excited about, because I feel like the more value you can add to services that you already have, the better. It's not necessarily about creating new services. It's about polishing the ones that you're currently doing and perfecting those and seeing what works and what doesn't. And so it's constant experimentation. I never want to settle. If you're not growing, you're dying, right? So never want to settle. And I'm excited about the repurposing power of podcasts, especially next year.
Absolutely. Jon is a smart guy. He knows what he's doing. He's making a lot of great points here. You guys got to listen to him. Jon, I wanted to ask if there was, one piece of advice you'd want to share with other business owners, entrepreneurs, just some sort of message you want to hit home as we wrap up the episode here.
Give first is the first thing that I would say. It's always about value, right? Chris, you've given me the amazing opportunity to be on Brainwork Framework, and that's an amazing example of giving first, right? What value can you provide up front before you ask anything in return? Doesn't mean you can never ask. You don't want to bury your CTA and never get to it, right? That's the other extreme, but give first. And what you'll find there is not only that you get more in return, and sometimes you don't even at all, but what you find is that you develop a mindset and just a whole difference in the way that you think about business and even life in the world. You develop relationships that go deeper than just transactional, and you make friends too, as crazy as it sounds from the business world. And you do all that by just giving first, not out of some strategic way to get more in return, but giving first out of your heart and realizing, okay, what can I provide? What value can I add to the world? Put that out there. And all of a sudden, you'll be surprised and you'll feel better about yourself and more confident as well.
Mm-hmm. Jon nailed it. It's about relationships. It's about value, giving freely before you're providing that value, deeper connections, relationships. That's what it's all about. Jon, we appreciate you coming on to our episode and sharing your tips, tricks, and wisdom with us. Congratulations on all your success, and looking forward to the future for you.
Thank you, Chris. And likewise for this podcast. I can't wait to continue to follow the show and see where this goes.
We appreciate it. Hey, thanks so much. Thank you.